In 2007, Zhou Yongkang reached the pinnacle of power in the Chinese Communist Party. He had ascended to the Politburo Standing Committee. Furthermore, he had gathered under his portfolio some of the most powerful segments of Chinese society. Throughout his rise to power, he had consolidated deep links within China's energy industry and its titanic internal security force. China's police force and law enforcement apparatus, it all answered to him. And then it was gone. His network fell apart bit by bit until finally Zhou was ejected from the CCP and jailed. Zhou Yongkang was not a princeling, which means his mother or father wasn't an early ranking member of the party. His family was poor, but the government paid for a decent education and he excelled. He would eventually go to a prestigious university studying petroleum engineering. There he joined the party in November 1964 during the chaos of the Cultural Revolution. He soon came to manage a large group of petroleum exploration engineers at one of China's biggest oil fields. His star rose as he showed competence. Eventually, he got the job of managing the whole field, and with it, the town of Panjin. After 2 years, he went to Beijing to serve as a deputy minister of petroleum industry. During the economic reform, this department was turned into China National Petroleum Company, one of the two major state-owned companies at the heart of China's energy industry. He helped grow the company by fueling China's insatiable need for oil. He helped CNPC go international, managing projects in the Sudan and Kazakhstan, and he networked hard. He put friends and allies into powerful places, which in turn helped build his own power. His oil success and constant networking would give him a seat at the Central Committee in 1997 and make him one of the 200 most powerful men in China. The party frequently fast-tracks its best members by putting them into progressively larger roles. The party decided to test him in 1999 by making him party secretary of the Sichuan province. This made him the top politician in a vast province of 81 million people. Sichuan has more people than a vast majority of countries. Usually as a comrade with a promising future, when they give you a plum position like this one, the best thing you do is to stick close with the party line and make sure nothing goes spectacularly wrong. You got your position because you got good friends up high, and they went to bat for you. Don't make them look bad. As Sichuan Party Secretary Zhou Yongkang checked off all the boxes when it came to being a good party member. He delivered good economic growth for his province, he followed the party line, and he did not make trouble for his patrons. He crushed any dissidents, as well as the Falun Gong, and he maintained order in the population. With the completion of his time governing Sichuan, Zhou returned to Beijing. At the 16th Party Congress in 2002, he became the Minister of Public Security, a member of the Politburo, and joined the powerful Chinese security apparatus. He arrived at a critical time. The Chinese government a few years prior completed a bruising restructuring of its state-owned companies, and thousands were laid off. China was getting rich, but as Deng Xiaoping said, some people were getting rich way faster than the others. Such inequality sparked massive protests among the people. Mass incidents, quote-unquote, or social protests. As a member of the Politburo and a minister of public security, he reformed the police forces. Up until then, internal security had seen underinvestment in the country, with the number of police per 100,000 population near the bottom of a 2009 UN ranking and far behind the United States. A number of shocking police scandals in the media had tarnished the people's trust in the police. Many police forces in China found themselves vastly underpaid and resorted to difficult and illegal alternative methods to get themselves paid. As Minister Zhou pushed through several reforms in the police force, he increased the budget and elevated the political status of the police chiefs within the party. Many police chiefs had to join the party, and he was known for holding mass study sessions where police officers received political education. He greatly centralized police recruitment on a local level, overruling local CCP affiliates and ruffling more than a few feathers. In 2007, Zhou had pleased enough of the party higher-ups to be approved for ascension into the Politburo Standing Committee, replacing the vacancy opened up by Luo Gan's retirement. Zhou Yongkang now found himself at the pinnacle of power in China. He would continue his reforms of the domestic security system in China. With him at the helm, China's security budget rose to new heights. In 2011, China's internal security budget exceeded its military budget for the first time in history, 100 billion versus 95 billion. Immensely powerful and living in the shadows, Zhou Yongkang grew to oversee a portfolio that rivaled anyone else in the country. It created a vast roster of enemies and rich opportunities for corruption. Zhou's downfall began when a subordinate of his protege, Bo Xilai, made an unexpected visit to the U.S. consulate in Chengdu. The resulting embarrassment and loss of face, not to mention all the corruption he did indeed do, would be his downfall. As the son of esteemed CCP member Bo Yibo, Bo Xilai had risen to prominence as the party secretary of Chongqing. He gained special notoriety on the back of a throwback Maoist-style campaign that made him personally powerful and others uncomfortable. Zhou was said to be close to Bo, and the rumor is that Zhou wanted Bo to succeed him on the Standing Committee upon retirement. It was presumed that Zhou, with his connections to the Sichuan province, was the patron elevating Bo to the Chongqing party secretary. Bo Xilai has his own dramatic story, but the gist of it is that when his trusted police chief Wang Lijun sought political asylum at the U.S. consulate, it sparked an international incident and a panic within the CCP. This, as well as the apparent murder of a British national by Bo's wife, was seen as sufficient to eject Bo from the Communist Party. In February 2012, the Politburo Standing Committee discussed his removal, and 8 of the 9 voted for detainment. Zhou was the only dissenting vote. Zhou then made the critical error of tipping Bo off about the coming fire, committing the crime of leaking state secrets. The CCP's style for purging higher-level members is to first roll up their network of patrons. This dates back to the Mao era, when Mao would first purge members like Deng Xiaoping en route to the ultimate target of Liu Shaoqi. Zhou's status as a former member of the Standing Committee did not protect him from purge. Slowly, the anti-corruption agency, the CCDI, led by Xi Jinping's close associate and House of Cards fan Wang Qishan, targeted the members of Zhou's circles. This would include China Petroleum CEO Jiang Jiemin, former personal secretary Wenlin, and former Sichuan Party Deputy Secretary Li Chunqiang. When the day finally came for Zhou Yongkang himself, there was little that he could actually do. He made a few small appearances post-retirement. At each of them, he towed the party line, asking the people to follow the leadership of Xi Jinping and the China Dream. In April 2013, he visited the village at which he grew up and supposedly said, "This may be the last time I come to visit everyone." June 2014, the CCDI officially opened up the case against Zhou, and in December 2014, he was declared guilty and expelled from the party. Zhou was handed over to the state legal system, the one that he once managed, and was found guilty of graft. The trial happened behind closed doors, unlike the Bo Xilai one, and the verdict was swift: lifetime imprisonment. Zhou pled guilty and showed little resistance. He was quoted to have said, "They tried to bribe my family, but really they were after my power. I should assume major responsibility for this." Zhou's family were also tried and their assets seized. This includes his son Zhou Bin with 18 years in prison and his second wife with 9 years. Western media called the trial of Zhou Yongkang a purge of Xi Jinping's political enemies. Chinese media raged against this and said that this was just an example of Xi's attempt to clean up the party and restore its credibility in the eyes of the public. I don't really think the two are mutually exclusive. Zhou Yongkang was extremely powerful, being in charge of vast parts of the country's apparatus. He apparently did not take to Xi Jinping's appointment as party general secretary, and the Wang Lijun incident made it possible to remove him. So I think Xi Jinping took the opportunity. But at the same time, I don't think anyone will argue that Zhou Yongkang wasn't profoundly corrupt. His rise through the ranks made him astoundingly rich. Reports say that the party seized assets worth some $14 to $16 billion, including some 326 residences across China and 647 foreign exchange accounts. And we shouldn't discount the victims of the reform policies that he oversaw. His reign of power saw the rise of private security forces and renewed reports of police brutality. You can easily argue that China needed reform of its police, but you can also easily argue that Zhou Yongkang took it in a direction that even the party realized needed backtracking. And so it happened with the next Standing Committee, which did not see any representative of the internal security forces. Zhou's story is fascinating to me because of the wide breadth of his power and influence. Energy and security are two different but incredibly strategic fields. One man somehow gained control of them, and then on the back of his own corruption and the will of the party, he would lose it. All right, everyone, have a good evening. I think there's one thing I do want to add at the end of this video. Zhou Yongkang was profoundly corrupt with whatever billions at his disposal and that of his family as well. I'm also it would be difficult to say, to argue that other high-ranking party members aren't in a similar way, or perhaps maybe not as kind of ostentatious or so bold, but it's really hard to believe that his peers also didn't have millions and millions of dollars stashed away somewhere. And that's something when I was researching the CCDI video, which is about corruption and the Anti-Corruption Party Council, is that you can't really end corruption or corrupt activities without eliminating the opportunity for them, right? That's one of the core problems. Removing the opportunity for certain party members to enrich themselves is critical. And at the heart of it, there are systemic factors relating to the system, which makes it easy for someone at that sort of power to decide that they want the money for themselves, and they start taking it. So I don't think Zhou Yongkang is the only guy in there who is corrupt. I think maybe he was an example of a really bad strain of it because of all the different areas that he was controlling. Sichuan, which is huge central province with 80 million people. The oil area, which is titanic as well. And the internal security forces, which was seeing just this flood of money. So it was two things, I think. It was the corruption, and it was the fact that his faction made the party look bad, and that's not something anyone could really do, especially at a high level. All right, everyone, have a good evening. Bye bye.